So if you're considering mediation, first of all, congratulations. It's probably the best way to approach divorce, not with the idea of war, but with the idea of resolving things. It's not as if, though, you can walk into mediation and a mediator is going to help you resolve the problem. If you want to be successful, the idea is you take control over the process and you put the steps in. There are really 6 basic steps that you need to undertake before you mediate. The first one is to establish your goals. That, yes, I want to divorce. I see myself living, maybe you look 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the future. You want to have a home, or you want to be renting an apartment. You want this kind of job. You need X number of dollars. Maybe you want custody of your children. Maybe you want shared custody of the children. But you go through and establish your goals and have a clear idea of where you see yourself when the divorce process is done. Once you've done that, the next step that's critically important is to gather your documents. The documents that you're going to need are your assets. Those would include bank statements, so you know how much money you have in savings, investment documents, and investment documents would also include assets such as a 401k plan or a TSP, a pension, mutual funds, anything that you have along that line. You also need to know what your expenses are. The monthly expenses include the cost of housing, how much you spend on food, do you have memberships, but what is your lifestyle? How much money is needed to support that? So identify the expenses and get a realistic handle on how much it costs you to live your life. And fully understand that you're going to go, more likely than not, from a 2-income to a 1-income household. So those expenses may need to change a little bit as you go through this process. You also need to identify debt. A lot of people have credit card balances. Maybe you have debt and your spouse doesn't, or vice versa. But debt and how much it costs to finance that debt on a monthly basis is definitely data that you need to consider as you enter the mediation process. Another very important series of documents that you need to gather are documents that reflect your income. These documents would include tax returns, especially if you file joint returns. You have the opportunity to look at what's the combined income, what's the tax liability. W-2s, 1099s, and current pay stubs, all of those documents you need going into mediation to understand how much money there is to be divided, or how much money each of you is going to have going forward. Once you have your goals and all of your documents gathered, then you really need to analyze where that brings you or where that leaves you. You have less income. You have to look at your goals and manipulate them so they're more consistent, realistic with the lay of the land, with your expenses, with your income, with the debt and the assets that you have. You want the goals and the framework, if you will, your assets and expenses to help shape those goals and make them realistic. Once you've gotten that far, the next thing you do is you analyze or you organize this data. So you would have your income documents all structured in an income folder, or you would have your debt all separated and understand what the total amount of the debt is, how much it costs you to support that debt on a month-to-month basis. You would look at your assets, have all of that in one folder, know what the total of those assets are, know who it's titled to. Some assets might be joint, some might be in your name, some might be in your spouse's name. You need to know that. Also, knowing when you acquired the asset is important. Some assets might not be marital, it might be premarital, in which case it's nice to know that you or your spouse has that money, but that asset isn't necessarily available for division. So once you've analyzed and organized all of this documents, the next thing that I think is critically important is you need to get informed. What you should do is sit down with an attorney, not with the mediator, but with a family law attorney, and go through the data and your goals and see if all of that is in alignment, if it's realistic. Get a good understanding of if mediation falls apart, what's likely to happen in court. Even though it can't be predicted, it can be reasonably anticipated what would happen in court. So if you're going to pay alimony or if you're going to receive alimony, you could get a ballpark assessment of what that would be. If something is if there's a business, what's your interest in that business, or what kind of risk is your business exposed to? It's best to talk to a family law attorney who has years of experience with that. If you bring the data with a goal, with your goals, you can modify the goals accordingly, and then also understand how to defend or to represent those goals during the course of mediation. You'll get a clearer idea of the issues that need to be mediated and resolved. How do you divide a marital asset? How you decide what alimony is going to be or not to be? How you calculate child support? Is it reasonable for you to say, I want to return to school because only then can I become self-sufficient? Can you make a plan for rehabilitative alimony? You will learn the laws. You'll learn what you can expect if you litigate, and how to represent your goals and defend why they're reasonable. Once you've done that, the very last step is to identify a mediator. And just like when you identify your family law attorney that's going to help you do your final preparation for mediation, you want your mediator to be an experienced family law mediator who will understand what you're saying and understand the support of what you're saying. That's how you prepare for mediation. If you want some help, give us a call.